Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Comic Breakdown. I hope you guys are excited about today. And if you woke up and you looked at comic book news, you probably already know. You've probably already seen it. Marvel Comics is bringing the Inhumans back. And that all starts right here in an Imperial number 3. Jonathan Hickman is spearheading the return of an entire empire. To understand how all of this is happening, to understand how the Inhumans really play a part in everything going on, we're taken to Fulcrum Space. We pick up with Shuri, Nova, and Peter Quill. The three of them, they just barely made it out of that intergalactic battle. The full-on assault of Wakanda Prime. Now, with everything going on, these guys are trying to figure out a way to let people know what's happening, but they also gotta keep moving. And so they do a flyby. Everyone at Fulcrum Station, they kind of just fill them in on everything that's transpired, the ongoing conflict, and really telling them to try and not go and fight, to stay out of it, to simply hope for war. Well, he goes and tries to fix this, to find a solution to save everybody. Picking up during that space battle, we have Hulkling and Wiccan. After their ship had exploded, had it not been for Wiccan's protective bubble, they probably would have been vaporized. And now they're figuring that they're probably screwed. Like, if they can't figure out a way how to leave this place, have somebody come pick them up, whatever it may be, if they can't figure something out soon, they're gonna be screwed. But that's when Wiccan remembers that he's got a get out of jail free card sitting in his pocket. This is what hops us over to Xandar, or what remains of Xandar. They've come here for answers. Outside of the capital city, there's an entry point. This is gonna allow them to get into the treasury, but they're not here for money or gold. This place is an archive. All the remains of this culture, a repository of art, of knowledge, of history. This is the Xandarian world mind, but there's no trick to accessing this. Though Nova hasn't really made it clear to everybody, there is a reason that none of the survivors of this empire have come back. There's a reason that nobody's done this yet. This is the only backup of the global consciousness of Xandar. Right now, the world mind is dormant, stable but inactive. Once he activates it, once he turns it on and it's no longer in a dormant state, this would be the equivalent to killing it. They would lose the only archives of their culture, everything that was gone. So if he turns it on, he has to be able to keep it on. The energy cost of this is unimaginable. It'll cost money, lots of it, at least till they can build some kind of containment replacement or something of that nature. And so he's got to ask, can you promise that Wakanda's going to provide what we need when all of this is said and done? And of course, she can't speak for her brother, but she says that she'll try. For Nova, that's not good enough. You're asking me to risk erasing everything of my people. I need reassurances. But Peter Quill, he tells him that I got you. My father's gone. My sister probably isn't gonna make it. Matt, that means pretty much the throne's mine. And with that throne comes wealth. So if it comes down to it, I have your back. This is where we see him activate the world mind. And it already knows what to do. It already knows what he's wanting. With its activation, this is where Nova learns all of it. He learns the truth behind everything that's happening. He learns the architect behind the entire war. And that is what takes us to 1 year ago. That takes us to the Grandmaster. Some would say the greatest strategist in the known universe. And today he meets up with Maximus of the Inhumans. Maximus, he's come to play a game. He's come to play for some very high stakes. You see, the game that they're about to play, if Grandmaster wins, Maximus will gift him the long-held secrets of all their Terrigen. Not only that, he's gonna give them all existing records of Inhuman genealogy. But if Maximus wins, the Grandmaster will owe him a favor at a later date. Obviously, this is very appealing to Grandmaster, but it's also very well known that Maximus the Mad, he seeks favor from no one. And so Grandmaster, he smells a ruse, though that makes it only that much more enticing for him to want to investigate and figure out what's going on here. It's all about the challenge for him. Now, Maximus, he sees everything going on. He sees the creation of a new Union superpower. The empires in his corner of the universe, they're plotting, they're trading. It's becoming a really well-oiled machine. He would like to throw a wrench into the gears. He has plans that can only thrive in chaos. But the challenge isn't for their union to fail. It's for him to put them at each other's throats. He needs a war, and nothing less will do. And Grandmaster says that that's easy, that over a long enough time scale, I can make anybody go to war. But Maximus, he puts a time restraint on it. He tells them that you have 1 year, one standard Earth year. And the trick to it all, they can't know anybody that was behind it. The hand, as it were, must remain hidden. Grandmaster says, let's begin. This is where we start to see those fish that have been popping up all over. Jonathan Hickman really did trick us with that one, making us think that it was going to be some kind of cosmic entity, maybe eternity or something of that nature, but in reality, we're just on a place called the Fish Bowl. It's essentially a giant aquarium. And this is where their game is held. This is where Grandmaster really just explains what his opening moves are going to be. It's not going to start with one murder. It's going to start with many. So many strings that need to be pulled. One murder simply wouldn't do. But Grandmaster says that he can accomplish this goal in 11 months and 12 days, give or take. And Grandmaster goes on to explain that what we're about to do is telling a story to all those that will be caught up in the web of it. And like any story that's well told, the path our players take should appear to be self-determined, well, it is anything but. So while they work from a beginning, the murders, that's what they'll give them. They work backwards from a desired endpoint. And just so their efforts, guided by their own hand, will lead them to a conclusion that's predetermined by Grandmaster. Grandmaster being an elder of the universe. He's seen galactic empires rise and fall. He's seen worlds born, their nourishing sun cease to exist. His life is measured in eons. He spent his entire existence being a player of games. He's dedicated his life to this. There is nobody better. This is where we see the pieces begin to move. Now he says lesser players, they might begin by stroking the fires of external conflicts, deep-seated hatred that they're existing in some instances thousands and thousands of years. But he finds that dealing with the Shi'ar Empire, it will be easier to handle them with internal conflict. 10,000 worlds. They're ripe for a class rebellion. The number of decommissioned super guardians has increased recently as newer models have replaced the growing obsolete older warriors from the Annihilation and Ascension Wars. So it's with great folly that the next Super Guardian class scheduled for retirement is the Electron, because it's from very few classes where a common true-born Shi'ar citizen can join the Imperial Guard. But what if he told you that this current soon-to-be cast-aside Electron was rumored to be the secret son of the Mad Emperor? Suppose that by his blood, he had a true claim to the throne. Should he rebel a small army of cast-aside guardians, would they join him? What if they whispered in his ear a secret plan not just to right this wrong, but to deliver the same justice throughout the universe, insisting the Kree chain around scroll necks? And as the Imperial Hobgoblin shapeshifters are undetectable to the scrolls as the scrolls are all to all of us, it will be a true, very believable miracle that their holy empress, resurrected and reborn in all her glory, has returned to preach the good word of righteousness, revolution, and liberty. Because how else would her people respond besides religious fervor? What would be more natural than a second, more aggressive secret scroll invasion? And that's exactly what happened. That is exactly how it all played out. After 11 months of this game, the poisons played, the bullets shot, the revolution beginning. And so it's all come to this, an inflection point. When all eyes turn, shadows rise to reveal the true enemy. And Grandmaster, he goes on to say how he loves this game, because the truth is, all blind men, they hate the truth. You look at the board and you look at Wakanda. a new alliance of war constructed on the back of an enhanced Stargate system dependent on vibranium, a rare element that naturally only exists within the boundaries of Imperial Wakanda. Do you see how quickly all the alliance's members, all the nations, they all aligned against them? Do you see how quickly they chose war? Some would argue that they had reason to. Others would argue that they were just looking for an excuse. Just like the excuse that Grandmaster gave them. He gave them the fuel, and they banged the war drums. The Wakandans had leverage, and he used it against them. The Skrulls had fervor, a righteous cause. He used it against them. The Shi'ar had plans within plans, so much so that they boxed themselves in. And Maximus, he had made wagers with his betters. He dared to play the game with Grandmaster. At the end, it all comes to this. A perfectly played game, painted across a canvas of cold, unforgiving space. He chose the players, he chose the board, and as such, Grandmaster cannot lose. This is where Maximus says, well done. I have to say that I am thoroughly impressed with you. It looks like you won. I will prepare the Inhuman genetic records along with everything else. But Grandmaster tells him to keep them. The truth is, you're an ant. I have no concern about the inner workings of the Inhumans. I just like the audacity of the wager, the impossibility of the task. Now he's gonna put it all back together. He's gonna make Maximus watch as he fixes everything that he just undid. Because Grandmaster, he did exactly as was promised. But he was never gonna leave the universe in this state. Never gonna leave it to what he desired. But this is when Maximus tells him to listen and listen closely. That he's a royal of the Inhumans. He too has seen galactic empires rise and fall. His own was one of them. And as such, this is sit very poorly with the Inhumans. But now they change all of that. Because he spent all his time doing two things. Being a liar and being a cheat. This is what he has dedicated his life to, and there are none better than him. He is a master of his craft. As he places a piece down on the table, he tells Grandmaster that he forgot about a piece. This is where we have the arrival of Black Bolt, ruler of the Inhumans, and a voice that could break you down to your molecules. Now at this, Grandmaster is livid, saying that it's not right, that it's unfair. But Maximus saying, why don't you tell him who won? And with the faintest whisper, Black Bolt says, I won. And we see Grandmaster blown back. Maximus making a joke saying that all things considered, he took that rather well. But he goes on to tell Black Bolt like, I don't know about you, but I've had a lot of stuff going on in the last year. All of it of consequence. He goes on to ask, are we sure we want to take things further? After all, we could just disappear for a few more years, wander the universe, have some brotherly love, some brotherly enlightenment, go on adventures together. This is where Black Bolt just stares at him, and Maximus is like, all right, have it your way, let's go get your empire back. And that is where this issue will end. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Alright guys, what are your thoughts? What's everybody's thoughts? Let me know. You know, you either love or you hate the Inhumans. I guess that's not fair. I'm impartial, so you either love, hate, or you're impartial to the Inhumans. I'm not really here or there, you know. There's some cool characters along the way, but I never hugely got into them. Now, we all know the push of Inhumans was really a response to the success of the X-Men movies. And their relative push for the Inhumans, it went with mixed reviews, to put it lightly. And so for a long time, the Inhumans, they haven't been a player in the game. But Jonathan Hickman, it appears he plans to rewrite this. He plans to bring them back into the fold. And in most instances, I would probably argue that this isn't a good idea, but it's Jonathan Hickman. Now, there are a few writers out there that I would trust with this kind of responsibility. Jonathan Hickman, at least right now, he's one of those people that I would trust. Now, he doesn't always put out absolute bangers, but Jonathan Hickman, he's good at telling one hell of a dramatic story. And by all accounts, I gotta give the man props. I gotta give him the opportunity. I gotta give the man the chance to tell this Inhuman story. Maybe he can bring them back. Maybe, just maybe, he can bring the love for the Inhumans around, and we can add a whole other element to Marvel Comics. You know, one of the things that's been missing from comics as a whole is new and interesting characters and stories and things of that nature. And while the Inhumans are relatively new, in the grand scheme of comics, they're new. And they're stories that we haven't really explored because the Inhumans' relative lack of success. So it's potential. I guess that's the biggest thing, is this all comes down to Jonathan Hickman potentially being able to bring us Inhumans back into Marvel Comics, making them part of canon again, making them part of everything, with the hopes that maybe this expands Marvel in a great way. Expands stories, character development, character arcs, crossovers, so on and so forth. It has the potential, but it has to be done right. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your theories. If you want to get caught up on everything that has been going on with Imperial, go ahead, check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It's going to get you completely caught up on everything that is going on with this series. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership. Much like Patreon, having multiple different tiers, from $1 to $50 from loyalty badges to comics every single month. Not only are you helping out the channel tremendously, but you're getting tons of perks in the process. Now, if you're unable to do this, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.